Hey friends, welcome back to day 6 of our watercolor week exercise extravaganza. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Either way, this is another one. I keep saying everyone is my favorite, but this is one of my favorite things to do is color mixing. I love color mixing. I love color matching. I love color theory. I just love the way it makes sense. And I know a lot of people are a bit intimidated by it, but I promise it is more fun and makes a bit more sense once I break it down. At least I like to think so. You can let me know that in the comments if I made sense or not. But either way, don't be afraid. We're gonna learn this together. It's gonna be great. So let's jump in and have some fun. Okay, so today is our color mixing and color theory video. My approach to this is going to be as non-intimidating and non-technical as possible. Today is a lot about experimenting, having fun, and just getting to know your colors. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of people feel intimidated or confused by color theory, and I really don't want you to be deterred from it. I want you to enjoy it and want to discover more. So we're going to start with the basics. So for today's video, I'm going to be using my Paul Rubens watercolors. I have my Etcher Lab Cold Press Watercolor Sketchbook, my Emma Lefebvre Craft & Mo brush in a size 6, my water and paper towel, and we're ready to go. Okay, so you can use whatever supplies you have. Now let's take a look at our color wheel. You guys may remember this from elementary school and how to mix primary colors to get a secondary color. Well, we're going to do this, and we're also going to go a little bit further, and we're going to mix tertiary colors, which I will explain in a minute. But what may be a little bit confusing about making your color wheel is we see that we have blue, red, and yellow here, but you may take a look at your palette and notice that you have multiple blues or multiple reds or multiple yellows, and you're like, which ones do I use? Now, the reason why you have so many different versions of your colors in your palette is because your colors have different temperatures to them. A color wheel can be split into 2 sections. Warm colors being yellow, orange, and red, and cool colors being green, blue, and purple. Now, that may seem simple, except that each of these colors also has a warm and a cool version of themselves. And that's where all these different paint colors come into place. So my first recommendation is swatch all of your blues in your palette, all of your reds, and all of your yellows. So let's begin by doing that. Now, if your palette came with the names of the colors, I'm going to suggest that you write them down, okay? Because we're actually not going to go by just the looks of them and just playing around. I want you to get to know your palette by names, and I want you to write them down because I want you to know which color is which. Okay, so I'm just going to swatch mine quickly. As well, you do the same. I'm going to suggest that if you also have a pink in your palette, like this one, this is, I think, Permanent Rose or something close to that, swatch that with your reds as well, because we're going to use that as a red for our color wheel. Okay, so I have swatched all of my primary colors that are in my palette. I've laid down all my blues, all my reds, and all my yellows. Now what I want you to do, I'm not going to do it right now because I actually don't have the names of these. I don't know where I put them, but what I want you to do is I want you to label your paint colors, if you know them, by their names. So Prussian blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, whatever they're called, if you have the name tags, write down which one is which. If you don't have the names, you could also label them blue 1, blue 2, blue 3. This is going to help you refer back to them later on. Okay, so now that we have all our colors, we need to pick our colors for our color wheel. Now we see here we have 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 red. But which of these colors do we pick? Which one is the primary blue or the primary red or the primary yellow? The thing is, depending on which of these colors you pick, you're going to get different mixes. So what I want you to do today is create multiple color wheels using different combinations to see what different mixes you get. Now there is a technical side to this of which colors mix the best, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone today with going into warm and cool colors, which one is which. I want you to figure it out by experimenting today. I want you to mix different blues and reds and yellows together to see which colors you get. And that's where the labeling comes in really handy. So if you mix a blue and a red together that you really, really love, you're going to know the exact colors that you mixed to get that color. So let's start by making a fun color wheel. We're not going to use any rulers and make it perfect like this. We're just going to have fun today. Okay, so just for fun, I'm going to be using the first 3 that I swatched here. I think it was that one, and that one. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking this blue, which I have a feeling is something like a phthalo blue. I'm not positive, but I think it's closer to that. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little swatch right here, like a kind of like a line, like a little triangle. Make it fun, okay? I'm gonna grab my next color, which is red. This one is actually more of a pinky red. So I'm gonna use that, and I'm gonna bring it right over here, like so. Just leaving some space in the middle. Okay, next I'm getting my yellow. I'm just gonna grab this one, and I'm gonna place it right here. All right, nice and loose, doesn't matter really what it looks like. Okay, now we're gonna start mixing our secondary colors. Secondary colors are made when you mix two primary colors. So let's start with our blue. I'm gonna grab my blue, and I'm actually just gonna place it in two spots in my mixing well, like so. Okay, I'm gonna wash off my brush thoroughly. And now I'm gonna grab some red, the red that we used. I'm gonna place it right here for another mixture after. And then I'm gonna mix it with one of our blues, okay? You wanna try and get half and half. So half blue, half red, as close as you can get to an equal mixture. We're just gonna mix it like so, okay? And I'm gonna place it right here. Now this looks pretty dark, right? This is probably one of the trickiest mixes, is getting a nice, beautiful purple, okay? Now I know we said we're not gonna talk too much about warm and cool colors, but the purple mixture that you get has a huge dependency on which blue and which red you mix. I also go into this into detail in my book. And I do have a video on this, which I will link below if you want to explore this further. Okay, so there's our purple. Now let's get our blue and our yellow mix. So we have our little bit of blue here. Let's grab our yellow. And I'm going to place it with our blue, and we're going to mix that, and we get green. So we're just going to place it right in between the yellow and blue, like so. All right. And our last mixture is red and yellow. So just grab a little bit more of that yellow, place it with that red we also already placed there. Oops, I need a bit more. And right in between. All right. And there we have our secondary colors. Okay, so now we're going to make tertiary colors. Tertiary colors is when you mix a primary color with a secondary color. So let's start by mixing more blue to our purple mixture here. So I'm gonna grab a bit more blue, and I'm gonna mix it in, and you get this beautiful bluish purple, kind of like an indigo. And you're just gonna place it right in between. Look how beautiful that is. Love that color. Okay. And now we want it more on the red side. So let's grab more red and just grab a little bit of that. And you get this really nice deep purpley red. And just place that in between. Okay. Now let's get our red-orange mixture. We're just going to add a little bit more red to our orange. Let's just grab a bit of it. And you place that right beside it, or in between. Wash off your brush. Let's get our yellow-orange mixture by grabbing more yellow, mixing it with that little bit of orange. There we go. Now let's get our green-yellow mixture by adding more yellow to our green. Just grab a little bit of that green. So we get our bright yellow green here. And then we get our green blue by adding just a little bit of blue to our green mixture. We get this like turquoise color. And there we go. There is our color wheel. Okay, so there's one color wheel. And like I said, depending on which primary colors of paint that we use, it's going to change it. So now I want you to pick another set of primary colors. Try and make it quite different. Here with our reds, it's already going to be different because I only have two. But for our yellow, I might pick this really, really bright yellow. For our blue, I might pick this warmer blue. And then like I said here with our red, I'm going to pick this more orangey red. So now I'm just going to clean up my palette so I have room for new mixtures, and we can begin. A little tip is that when I usually create mixtures in my palette, I tend to leave those mixtures so I can reuse them later on. Just for the purpose of this video, I want to clean my palette, but if you do watch my videos, you will see that my palette is quite messy and dirty a lot of the time. That's because I like to use the color mixtures and not waste paint. So don't feel like you have to clean your palette every time. I typically don't. So while we create our second or third color wheel here, I just want to talk to you a little bit about approaching color theory. So while I'm saying here to experiment and try new things, learning the technical side of color theory is important, but when you're just starting out, I want you to just start by experimenting like we're doing here. Try different mixes, label them so you have the reference, and just play around. I find this way it feels a little less intimidating rather than just knowing the whole technical side. But if later on you are trying new mixtures with some colors and it's not working out the way you want it to, knowing color theory will help you understand why it's not working or what you need to do to create the mixture that you desire. So I definitely suggest to play around first, then really take a look into color theory. I have many other videos that you can take one at a time so you don't have to have all of the information coming at you at once or feeling overwhelmed. I do break it down into what warm and cool colors are, especially for each of these individual colors and how to tell them apart. And it also just takes a bit of time just getting to know the colors in your palette and the mixes. But in some situations, experimenting with your color mixtures is some of the best ways to discover new colors. I've personally discovered that mixing burnt umber with ultramarine creates a beautiful gray, even kind of a black color, and then mixing a really nice green with purple creates this beautiful dark green, and if you mix it half and half, it creates gray. And that's not necessarily something that I would have discovered just from knowing color theory. It's all about practice and experimenting. So try to not stress yourself out about it. Experiment, and then take a look at some of my other videos if you want to dive deeper into why colors mix the way they do. Once you decide that you're having a little bit more fun with it, then you can dive a little bit deeper into the technical side of why those two colors mix to make another color. I'm going to touch on that a little bit now by talking about contrasting or complementary colors. Okay, let's take a look at this color wheel for a second. Contrasting or complementary colors are the colors that sit directly across from each other on the color wheel. We have red and green, yellow and purple, blue and orange. Now, I'm going to talk about two ways that I really love to use complementary colors together to mix. So when you mix two complementary colors together, you will get some shade of brown. Again, depending on which primary color you use, it is going to change. So make yourself a color chart and mix all the different combinations together and see what shades of brown you can get by mixing those two complementary colors evenly. Now, you may get a little confused if I say complementary or contrasting colors. It's actually the same thing. So if I'm going back in between contrasting or complementary colors, just know that that is the exact same thing. Two colors that sit directly across from each other on the color wheel. Okay, so let's just do this for an example. I'm going to take, here we have our orange, and its contrasting color is blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue, and we're going to mix it together. Now, this is a brown, but it's more of like a orangey brown. Sometimes it can be even like a bit of a greeny brown, depending on what two primary colors you're using. It depends on your paint colors. Let's try with a different blue, because here we have a darker orange. Let's try with this blue. Okay, we're going to mix it, and we get a completely different brown. It's almost kind of black. Let's try with our greens here. Green's complementary color is red. So I'm going to try with this red first. I'm going to mix it. I think I had a little bit more red there than I meant to have. And here we get a brown. Red and green is probably one of my favorite combinations to make a brown. Let's try the other red. I think I used the first red. here we get more of like a warmer red, a warmer brown, I mean. Let's just mix this to make sure we have purple. Okay, here's our purple. Purple's complementary color is yellow. So let's mix this yellow to start. Here we get a brown. Well, let's grab our other yellow. And a different one. So look at all these different shades of brown by mixing different combinations of our complementary or contrasting colors. Now, another way I really love to mix complementary or contrasting colors is to mute a color. And the way to do this is by adding just a small amount of one of the contrasting colors to the other. So let's take red, for example. Here we have red, okay? And I want to dull down this red. All I'm going to do is add a small amount of green. I'm just going to grab a green from the palette here. I'm going to add a small amount of green and a larger amount of red, and it actually dulls it down. Here, let me get a bit more. And makes it a darker, muted red. This is really great to do when you're trying to make a fall color palette as well. Let's do the same thing to green. So now we have a little bit of red in there. I'm just going to take my green, more green than red, and mix it. And we have a darker muted green. Let me swatch the original green so you can see. Should have done that first. Okay, here's the original green. Here is our muted, dark, kind of deep hunter green. Let's do it with our yellows and our purples. So here we have our yellow. I'm going to put it in my palette right here. I'm going to grab some purple. Here, I'm going to put a purple right here. And I'm just going to mix a small amount of purple into my yellow here. Let's grab a bit more yellow. And we have a darker, kind of like a yellow ochre color. Now let's grab more purple with just a little bit of yellow. A little bit more. And we have this deep, muted purple. Let's do the same thing with our blue and our orange. Okay, so let's grab, let's say this blue. I'm going to put a little bit on my palette here. And I have an orange right here. I'm just going to swatch the original and then mix a little bit with that blue. You get this nice, I need a bit more blue. This kind of muted, dusty blue, which is really nice. And then if you add orange with just a little bit of the blue, you get this darker, rusty orange. So I love muting my colors or making a fall palette by adding a small amount of one's contrasting color to it. It's also great when you're trying to create shadows. So if you're, say, painting a lemon, we have our bright yellow here, and then we want to add a bit of shading, a bit of a shadow to our lemon. Instead of adding black to darken our color, use its contrasting color to add that shadow, and it just looks more realistic. It looks more organic. So those are my tips for mixing contrasting or complementary colors. Now lastly, I just want to talk about using these colors in your paintings. Using contrasting or complementary colors together in a painting can make your paintings pop and give them a lot of harmony. It can really draw the viewer's eyes to your paintings. So I definitely suggest when planning out a painting to take a minute and try and add contrasting or complementary colors in it together to see how it looks. And my last tip is to look at analogous colors. So what are analogous colors? Analogous colors are the colors that sit directly beside each other on the color wheel, about 3 or 4 colors. So here we have red, red, orange, 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 yellow, or maybe yellow, yellow, green, green, and blue-green. Using those colors together in a painting can also create a lot of harmony, and it can give a vibe of a certain mood for your painting, so I definitely suggest trying that out as well. Today is the day that you play around with color mixes and just have fun. So make your color wheels. I am going to link below some other videos that go through warm and cool temperatures of colors, making color charts, and other fun exercises to do if you want to take it a step further. But my biggest tip today is to experiment, label your colors, and play around. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you guys liked it, and I hope you learned something and it wasn't as scary as you thought it might be. Don't forget to check the description for any of the videos you may have missed from our Watercolor Week series, and check back tomorrow for our newest, and I think it's our last video. This has been fun, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. But tomorrow will be our last video, so I will see you guys then. Have a great day. Bye.